the company was taking down payment, but wasn't building the roofs. You can't survive like this as a roofing company. There's no future. Or my mother, when I was in high school, she told me I needed to go to college so I didn't end up like my father as a roofer. If something ever happened to me, right? My son could go on and see what kind of person I was, what I enjoyed doing, and what I brought to the world. Because, everyone wants to sell right now. But there's so much value in keeping your business, especially if you have a next generation that you want, that you build a business. The people that aren't dedicated, the people that aren't putting in a 40-hour work week, and they're not going to get the results that they want. They're all down here. I'm doing so many things different that I don't even have to try. And that person, when I'm leaving the home, is like, wow.
Next 10 years, we won't be having smartphones. Let's just say if a roofer is starting out on social media, he doesn't know anything. What are the top 3 things he should do in order to just rock on social media?
Post-production pictures are great.
And what if someone says they don't have time for social media?
You don't have time for social media, then you have time to go out of business.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Roofing Millionaires Podcast, the only roofing podcast where we don't sell you anything and we don't promote anyone. And the only aim of this podcast is to empower roofers and help them learn from the wisdom of the expert roofers. Today, we are sitting with Andrew Entire from Masters Roofing in Tennessee, and the conversation is filled with insights on how you can scale a family roofing business and how you can leverage content creation to master your roofing sales. Plus, we have also talked about artificial intelligence and the things it takes to build a lasting roofing success. Do like and subscribe our YouTube channel if you want us to bring more successful roofers to the podcast that can help you change the game for your roofing business. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Roofing Millionaires Show, Andrew. Thank you so much for taking your time and joining us today here on the show. So, how do you normally start your morning?
Yeah, so as far as starting my morning, I usually get up around 5:36 a.m. and I kind of have a routine. I usually spend my quiet time while I have my coffee, just kind of think about what I got planned for the day. And then I usually hop on social media, and that's when I reply, kind of start talking to people, in my DMs. And I always say the number one rule of social is always making sure that you're communicating with people. Being social is the number one rule to social for me. So I always like to make sure I'm getting back to people first thing in the morning, and then also just replying to comments, different things like that, so I can get it out of the way. So that way I can get to the gym. Usually I walk 3 to 5 miles a day, and that kind of clears my head. I get to listen to my music and just have a peaceful time in the morning. And then work usually starts around 10 a.m.
Andrew, we are here today on this podcast because, as far as I know, you have an extensive career in roofing sales, and our conversation will be purely based to provide maximum value to the roofing community from the knowledge that you have. That's why we will focus on the benefits that roofers can get from our conversation, and not only roofers, the people or the teens or the younger people who are trying to get into roofing, or even the homeowners who are watching or listening our podcast, they can get maximum value out of this conversation. So we'll start off with some easy questions, and then we'll transition into how people can build family businesses and how they can scale further. And at the end, I'll ask you about how you see the future of sales in roofing, and we'll also discuss how someone can balance family and business at the same time while they are focusing on scaling up as well, and obviously health too. And I'll also ask some questions about how do you feel that roofing as a career is for the next generation, should they choose it, or it isn't a good option for them. So to kick things off, let's just talk about Masters Roofing for now. As far as I know, this is a business that your uncles started, and I don't really know much of the story. So would you like to tell me that how did it all begin?
Yeah, so back in 2008 when we actually started, and my father and my uncle got in business together. And so the cool thing about it was my father worked for a company called Able Roofing in Ohio. It's one of the bigger storm restoration companies in Ohio. And back in the early 2000s, he was one of their best sales guys. And he did really well until he went to a one of those little get-togethers, a little seminar where they had a guy speaking, and one of the speakers was named Terry Kiefer. Well, Terry Kiefer had a operation down in Florida called Pinnacle Roofing, and it had multiple locations. And, so he got to talking to my father, and they hit it off pretty well. And he liked my father a lot and said, "Hey, listen, I would love for you to come down and run my operations down in Florida. I have multiple offices. I'll pay you great money to do it. And you can even drive my Mercedes around." That's right when the hurricanes first started hitting. You had those multiple hurricanes that hit in the early 2000s. So my father saw it as a great opportunity to go down and make a lot of money down in Florida and get us out of Ohio, which is not as far as the climate goes, not as beneficial as Florida is. And so he moved down to Florida and he started working for Terry Kiefer and, went through about 4 to 5 months, and he realized that the company was taking down payments, but wasn't building the roofs, So that kind of turned into a situation to where he ended up having to quit because it was just a moral issue of, "Hey, listen, you can't survive like this as a roofing company. There's no future here." And so he quit that job and, went back to Able Roofing and said, "Hey, listen, I'd like to come back." Able said, "Hey, listen, you kind of dropped this on the fly. You're not going to come back on your same sales structure that you had." So at that point in time, my father just wanted to run his operation, and he met up with my uncle at the Masters golf tournament in Augusta, and they literally wrote out the business plan on the back of a Masters napkin, and that's where Masters Roofing came from. So, and we still have that napkin until this day. I didn't believe that story, and then my uncle called me into his office one day when he was in town, and he showed me the napkin. So I thought that was a pretty cool start overall. And I didn't get started with the company until 2014. So I came into a mature company. I mean, we were about 5 years into it, and I kind of added my part to it. I started off with roofing sales, did very well at that for about 3 to 4 years, and then I kind of started asking myself, what is next for me? Because the thing with my family is that everyone has their individual roles in the company, and it's kind of their thing. My father always says, "Hey, listen, I'll run the company my way. When I retire, I'll hand you the keys, buddy. Then you can run the roofing company your way, implement the systems that you want to implement. But until then, let me do my thing." The one territory that wasn't really explored much was the social media realm. So I asked my father, I said, "Hey, listen, can I have complete creative control of that?" So that's when I started deciding to document around the roofing sales process, documenting around what we do each and every day. So I remember saying to my father, I said, "If we can show people the level of work that we do each and every day, they will do business with us each and every time, even if there was a price difference between us and the competition."
Yes. Perfect. What were you doing back in 2008 when all of this happened?
I
Where were you?
was still in
Yeah.
school. I'm
Okay.
31 years old. So back when it started, I believe I was in 8th grade.
Mhm.
Which is crazy to think because a lot of roofing businesses don't last more than 3 to 5 years, and now here we are, many years later and it's successful multiple times over. So it's, I was in high school and going into my freshman year of high school, and it was a complete life change for us as a family. It was a little bit tough the first 3 years, kind of solidifying yourself as a roofing contractor. But after that, it's been an exponential growth and it's been fantastic for the family.
I won't ask you how you ended up in roofing because I imagine it's something that you grew up around because you said that your father was a roofer as well. So I just want to ask you that did you ever consider any alternate career as well, or roofing was your first choice?
Actually, my father
Uh,
or my mother initially, when I was in high school, she told me I needed to go to college so I didn't end up like my father as a roofer, which is a crazy statement. Seeing the life that we have now, it's a crazy statement to say because, so I did go to college. I had a partial wrestling scholarship at Tiffany University. I did that for about a year and a half, and I just said, you know what? I don't think college is for me. And I was majoring in criminal justice. I wanted to work for the FBI, right? And
okay.
I was talking to my professor one day, and he said, "Hey, listen, you're not really getting any benefit of having a degree in criminal justice. What you need to do is go join the Army or go into the Marines or even become a police officer, spend 5 to 10 years on the force, and then they'll start looking at you as a option for the FBI and the CIA, different entities, like that for the government. And so I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do that because I wasn't a huge fan of college anyway. So I
Uh-huh.
actually quit and I went back down to South Florida and I became a corrections officer. So I did that for about a year and a half, did very well with that. I was on the rapid response team. And then my father, he called me one day and it was after a really rough day. We had 3 uses of force, in one day on the compound I was working on. So I got out of late because you have to do a bunch of paperwork with any incident that happens like that. And I got out super late. I was like 4 or 5 hours late and I had a bunch of missed phone calls of people just asking, hey, where you're at? Because in a prison, you can't take your cell phone in with you. And, one of those voicemails was from my father and he just
Uh-huh.
said, hey, listen, I don't know what you're making down in Florida, but
Uh-huh.
I'm tired of worrying about you every day on, you possibly getting hurt. Yes, you can take care of yourself. You're a great wrestler, but I don't want you getting
Uh-huh.
chased. I don't want anything happening to you. I'd love for you to come work for me in Memphis and, we'll pay you great and, pay you what you're making. And, as a corrections officer and you can have a much better life here. And that would bring you and your mother up to,
Uh-huh.
Memphis where I am, which makes my life
Uh-huh.
a lot easier. So I actually didn't start in roofing, but I grew up around the business. And I think that's what kind of drew me away from it first was because my
Uh-huh.
dad was, really tough. When I was, younger, I would go out to the adjuster appointments with him. When I was in third, fourth grade, I would be up on lower slip roofs with him and, adjusters, talking about hail damage, wind damage, different things like that. And then as I gotten older, like if I would come visit him in the summertime, he would have me slinging up shingles on my shoulder and carrying them up the ladder, you know. So it was, which I looked at it as a workout, being a wrestler and all, but so that was kind of cutting my teeth on what the roofing business was. But the perception was that being a roofer wasn't something that was a glory profession, something that you could make a substantial living at the time.
Okay. And what was your mother's reaction when she came to know that you are switching career?
Oh yeah, no, she was fine with it. And, I think she worried about, me
Uh-huh.
being a corrections officer as well. I mean, that's a dicey profession when you're dealing with that, environment each and every day. So, and I think for the money, looking back on it now, it was like, what were you doing? But when you're a young kid, fresh out of college and you're making $1,500 over 2 weeks, it's like, hey, this is a great deal here. It wasn't. Once after you get into roofing
Uh-huh.
sales and experience other things, it's like, what were you really doing at that point in time?
Let's just say a teenager is watching or listening to this podcast and they also have a family roofing business, but they are confused and unsure whether they should continue with their family business or they should have their own career or their own path. How should they decide whether to continue and expand the family business? Because you have been into such situation. What
Mhm.
would you recommend to them that would help them decide that if they should join their family business or they should have their own path?
I think it's evaluating yourself as a person. For me, it was one of those things where, the legacy was already built. It was what my father always did growing up. So I was very comfortable and I knew that he could support a family on selling roofs, because he did it for us. And so I think a lot of people where the tough part, especially if you're a roofing sales, which is where you're probably start off if you're working for your father, is the uncertainty of having a paycheck every week. You only get what you bring in, with the commission structure that you have. And so for me, I think it's evaluating it as a whole. Where is the business at, you know, uh, in its current standing? Is your father running it properly? My father and my uncle have done a wonderful job of running Master Roofing since 2008. It's built like a boat. They take a paycheck each and every week, and the rest of the money goes into different investment accounts. So we're financially solvent for many, many years. And so just evaluate the situation of what it is and what it could provide for you in the future. But I think the legacy is more important to me than anything. What are you leaving for the next generation? And that's one thing that my father set us up very, very well as a company. He's still involved with it each and every day, but, um, there's no question in that when he decides to retire, or if he decides to do this until he's pushing daisies, um, he's going to leave me in a better position than what he started off. And that's where I think that a lot of people should pay attention to, because if your dad's a handyman, then I can understand wanting to go into a different direction. But if you have a business that was built very well for you, why not give it a shot and go into his footsteps?
I
See if you
agree
can
with
fill
you.
those shoes.
Yes, because I read somewhere the only person in this world that's want to see you succeed even more than himself is your dad. And you should join hands with him, and you should start off from where he left, and then you should move things forward. That's what I feel.
And I think,
And yeah,
private equity is a big thing right now. Private equity sweeping in and buying roofing companies. And I'm on the side of not selling, right? Because like there's been offers on the table several times to buy Master Roofing, and we turn them down every single time because it's a family owned business. We want to keep it that way. So, but it's funny because everyone wants to sell right now. But there's so much value in keeping your business, especially if you have a next generation that you want, that you build a business for. You know, it's interesting how people will just sit there and sell, but you don't understand you're adopting different morals, different principles than what the business originally started.
I actually had a question about this later in the conversation, but as you have mentioned it right now, I personally feel that these companies, these people who are building companies to sell, they are not actually focused on adding value to the customers. They are just trying to have a higher offer or an amount that just makes them satisfied. And then they would just shift their focus onto another business. They would build that business to sell, not to add value. And like just you said, that you are not making something for your family.
When you're choosing profits over your moral compass, I think that's the difference between, when private equity gets adopted into a business. I think an interesting thing that's going on in culture right now is Gary Brecka. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he worked with Dana White. He does the genetic testing, and he can literally predict, within a year of when you actually die, right? And so he has this cool genetic test, and he helps people get healthy and get their life back on track. Well, he recently, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, got into contact with Grant Cardone and Cardone Ventures,
Yes.
and he started 10X Health with Grant Cardone. And, they were paying him a healthy salary, plus he was getting millions and millions of dollars
Mm-hmm.
from what he was doing with 10X Health.
Mm-hmm.
But then they started pushing on him different products that he wasn't familiar with and saying, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we bought this company, you need to go out and sell it for us, right? So then all of a sudden it changed what he was about as a person. And I think that's one thing people don't sit there and understand about when you're bringing in private equity or bringing in a partner. You're also bringing in their morals, their thoughts, and how they approach business. So in his case, he wasn't the majority owner of his own thing that he was doing with the Cardone Ventures. And it ended up now it's turned into a whole thing where they're suing each other for $100 million, and they're breaking up, and he just wants to get back to normal, to doing what he was doing before he made that partnership, you know? And I think that's one thing people should recognize when you're dealing with private equity, or when you're dealing with investors at a profit motive. It might not always be the best case for you as a business owner to deal with that. Sometimes it's better to be able to make your own decisions and go about it your own way and not have to answer to anyone.
You are right, actually, because if you have built a company and I purchase it from you, I am not thinking to like serve the customers. I am just thinking how I can make more money out of this, and how I can
Mm-hmm.
maximize the profits, and how I can do those things. You also mentioned that your values are compromised. And I was in conversation with Jason the other day from Teflon Roofing. We discussed
Mm-hmm.
this as well, that your values become your marketing message. Like the one thing or the core reason why you started your business. That's your marketing message. There is no fancy stuff needed in marketing. And I hope
Mm-hmm.
you would agree with me on this as well. Now, the question here that I want to ask you is, and there is a uniqueness in any business, even they are in the same neighborhood. Every business is unique because every founder is unique. The person who started the business just saw a different problem and they said that I'm going to fix this problem, even in the same industry. What were the one thing or the key things that your uncles focused upon when they started Masters Roofing?
Yeah, so I think it's running a good business overall. That's the one thing that we brought to Memphis. When we first moved to Memphis and my father started Masters Roofing, he still talks about it to this day. When we first moved to Memphis, no, you would knock on a homeowner's doors, they would know nothing about the insurance restoration business. Every single operation at that point in time was working out of their garage. It was a very chuck in the truck mentality when it came to Memphis contracting when we first came here. It was kind of the wild, wild west of roofing. And he actually built a company, that came out, did what they said that they were going to do, broke custom metal on site, put the roof on the right way, and then stood behind the warranty. Um, you know, whether it's a 3-year workmanship warranty or a 25-year workmanship warranty that we offer, um, he actually stood behind it. And that creates raving fans. When you do what you say that you're going to do, and it's hard for people to find contractors that actually do what they say that they're going to do and that are around to service them, 3 to 5, 10 years down the road. And that's one thing I feel like we've done successfully here, putting back into the community, making sure that you're going out to the local fundraisers and you're reinvesting that money back into the community. We do No Roof Left Behind with Owens Corning as well. Those different things build a culture of it builds your brand identity with the local community. And I feel like that's what we've done very well here at Memphis is that we say that we know what we're going to do when we go out to the job each and every day. We explain it to the homeowner, and it's about the customer experience as a whole. It's not just about putting on a roof. It's about putting on a roof that is exactly what the homeowner wants, providing the ultimate customer experience and putting on that dream home roof for them. So I would say that would be the thing that made us different right off the bat is that we were an actual roofing company, whereas before we came to Memphis, there wasn't really that available for people.
Okay. And you also said that right now that you focused on adding these values, and your dad faced that issue when the other company, they were taking down payments and were not delivering the project. So as a salesperson, you are in sales as well, and I am in sales as well. We can make the sale, but the customer experience, that's the thing that comes from when you see the problems and
That is everything.
when you understand the pain of the customers. I would say that what do you say that if I am starting a roofing company and my sole focus is I don't have any money and I just want to hire those immigrants and get them on roofs, I am good at sales and I'll make money from that, but I won't scale. And that's the reason you mentioned that most roofing companies last 3 to 5 years. What's the fix?
I definitely recommend going into roofing with a little nest egg. I wouldn't start with no money because that's going to put you at a deficit. But,
Yeah.
because if you're starting with no money, what happens if the first job you go out to, you're doing the roof and you ding up the gutters? You got to take care of the homeowner on that, right? What are you going to do? Not replace the gutters? And then that immediately starts off on the wrong foot and ultimately is going to cost you your reputation on the first job. So it's important to start with a nest egg. That's actually how my father and my uncle got partnered up in the first place is my uncle owned a very successful plumbing company. So he actually gave my father the money to start. But it's so funny because the first job that we ever did, even though that we had a nest egg, my brother sat on the job from start to finish to ensure everything went absolutely perfect. And he did that the next day and the next day. And so I think it's very important to be very concerned about the customer experience you're providing, making sure that you're staying tight with how the roofers are conducting themselves on the job site, and just protecting yourself because at the end of the day, you really have to nurture your roofing company for the first 3 years. And it's not about going out and buying the boats and buying the fancy house that you want. It's about grinding each and every day to get what you want, which is a healthy roofing company that's going to provide for the next 5 to 10, 15 years. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They get lured into the quick money of roofing. I built a roof and I got $30,000, right? Well, that's $30,000. That's not your spent. You put it back to the company and you build that nest egg first. And I think ultimately the businesses I've seen go down is the people that are more consumed with themselves rather than being consumed with the business. And, so that's what I would recommend is like, if you're looking to get into this business, build that nest egg first and then start a quality business that's going to take care of people. But you have to be obsessed with the production aspect of the company for the first 3 years. And if you do that, it's going to provide an exceptional experience for the homeowner. So, but a lot of people just get lured into the money. They don't want to, they'll hire crews and then not pay them. That's kind of the cool thing about Massive Roofing is we've been with the same roofing company same roofing crew since 2008. The same 3 crews that we started with is the same 3 crews that we have today.
I actually remember one thing I read somewhere last week that it's a really beautiful line that your family aren't just the blood relationships that you have. Your family are actually the people who are irreplaceable in your life. And that just, I reflected that quote right now when you said that you have the same crew. You are 31 right now, Andrew, and I am even more younger than you. When a younger entrepreneur starts a business, they have this energy. They think that I can do everything on my own and they can fire people real quick. They just say that, okay, you can't do this. I'll do it myself. Go have your way. And later on, you realize that you have done so many things wrong. And those were the irreplaceable people you had in your life, but you have lost them and you retained them. You have the same crew. How did you retain all of these people, those irreplaceable people? Because they have become your family.
It goes back to doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
You have crews, you pay them good, you pay them well, and you take care of them as if they're your family. And same thing with your sales guys. That's the one thing that my father's done. Same thing applies to the sales guys in our roofing company. We have the same guys. And the funny thing is, a lot of the average, I don't know what the average age, but for sure the majority of our sales guys are over 50 years old. They've been selling roofs for, 15 to 20 years in the industry, and been with Masterclass Roofing since the beginning of the company. So how you get that is by taking care of people, and I think it's very simple. If you take care of people, they'll be loyal to you. They're not going to run to the next roofing company because, they're paying more per square for a day or whatever the case is, and you create that loyalty by providing consistent jobs and opportunities for people. And then owning up on your side of it by making sure that they're living a good life working for you. And I think that's often forgotten. I've because I communicate with so many different contractors across the nation, I get to see it all. I get to see the people that run 25 to $30 million companies that I aspire to be, that I look up to. And then I also get to see the people that I try to mentor and they don't listen to me. Like I'll sit there and say, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and they do the exact opposite. And I get to see the toll that takes on them. And guess what? They still want to drive around the Ferraris. They still want to, live this big lifestyle. And I know financially they're in ruins, because I hear it from their sales guys. They'll tell their sales guys to go follow me. And then when the sales guy gets screwed on the paycheck or whatever the case is, and they end up quitting the company, they'll come to me and be like, hey, don't be this guy's friend because this is what they did to me. And it's like 100% I'm not going to the roofing expo and hanging out with that guy anymore. But it's just unfortunate because it's like, if you do set up a proper company and run it the right way, it can be one of the most financially satisfying things that you can do, not only for yourself, but for the people that are in your business. You want to see someone be able to raise their kids and like Ed Hill, he has 6 kids. He's been with Master Roofing since the beginning of the company. He put every single one of his kids through college on roofing sales, and he has 6 kids. Now, granted, he'll still be working for us for the next 5 to 10 years because of that student loan debt that he's paying off. But, at the end of the day, he's made a very good living in roofing sales. He has a home in Atlanta. He lives here in Memphis. His wife and his whole entire family live in Atlanta. But he's extremely motivated because he goes out and captures jobs and he gets paid great money to do it.
And what about you can create an opportunity for someone, but you can't create determination for them. Like you can't put in the determination they need to have in order to, utilize that opportunity that you have created for them. And you have been into business. We meet all kinds of people. So how do you lay off those people if you find?
Well, I think the one thing is full commission sales kind of weeds out people on their own. The people that aren't dedicated, the people that aren't putting in a 40-hour work week, they'll struggle and they're not going to get the results that they want. So for anyone that's in the roofing sales industry, one of the things I recommend is putting in a 40-hour work week. And what I mean by that is that even though we're full commission sales guys, we can create our own schedule. We can do what we want to do. Make sure that you're block scheduling and putting out time to put together mailers. And then if you go out and you sign up a roof in the afternoon, why not hit the whole entire street, in whether it's knocking doors or even if you're just putting up flyers, get that information out there so people can call you. Far too often I see people coming to this industry and they don't want to put the work in, and you're going to get exactly what you put in out of it. And so that's the thing. They weed themselves out almost immediately, and the thing about it is you do have high performers that do really well, but a lot of the times the anxiety of roofing sales, worrying about the next one that's coming into the pipeline, is what drives people out of this business, And so if it's not competency in the sales process or the work ethic, which the younger generation lacks a lot of, they don't want to put in the work, they have a hard time communicating with people. But if you can get them to get those two things together and they can go out and they can sell roofs each and every day, it can unlock a different life for them, but they have to be the ones to do it themselves. You can't do it for them. And so that's kind of the one thing about Master Roofing is, like, we'll help you with learning about sales. We'll help you with closing jobs. I'll even go out to job and close them with you, but, you got to put in the work, and if you're not, we'll help you design your own flyers and do what you need to do. If you want to do social media videos, I'm a wealth of knowledge with that. All the opportunities are there for you to be successful, but you have to be successful yourself.
And people don't want to actually put in the work. You are right here, because most people, they don't even want to work 9 to 5, whereas in the 80s, in the 90s, or in the early 2000s, it was the norm. Now, because of this internet thing, or after COVID, I feel that everyone is just trying to make quick money and they just want to fill their banks with crypto or these make money quick schemes, and they end up nowhere. Speaking of this, most people hearing or watching this podcast wouldn't know that you have a video podcast on YouTube as well. And I was watching your video the other day. You mentioned that there is a winter season for each business, and the same Tony Robbins says about businesses as well, that there is a winter season for every business. And what I feel so far is that a winter season is coming. The world is heading towards a recession, I personally feel, and it's going to be a huge one, or a disastrous phase for businesses. However, I also believe that it is so easy to succeed nowadays, even in the winter season, because people aren't just willing to put in that hard work that it requires to build something big or create something big. So let's just say
that is it.
We are heading towards the winter season. How would you recommend someone or advise or the things they can do to fight or endure the winter season?
You can control exactly how much you work. That's the one thing that you control out of anything. You can't control whether there's, UAPs in the sky, or whether the stock market is going to crash tomorrow or real estate market is going to crash tomorrow. But what you can do is you can put yourself out there as much as possible, whether it's going to local marketing events, BNIs, Chamber of Commerce meetings, putting yourself out there on social media, door knocking, flyers, mailing. There's so many ways to be successful in this day and age. And there's opportunities outside of roofing if you want to build them. That's what I've done personally, because, I never wanted to be solely reliant on just a roof that I sell each and every day. And that's something that took me a long time to build, with the social media stuff. But that's starting to pay dividends now, with the different brand deals that I've set up and everything. But if you're just a normal roofing salesman, you can go out and work each and every day. And that's the one thing that I see our everyone struggle with in the industry is that they're looking for that quick fix, or they're looking to have that $20,000 to $30,000 check in a month, every single month. And that's just not the reality of it. It's much better to have a $5,000 to $8,000 check each and every month, and be consistent with what you're bringing in, than to have that 1 month where you go all out and you get that big check, but then all of a sudden you decide to go on vacation, next month, right? You don't work, you don't put in that effort. And so therefore, you struggle the following month. If you take time off, it's going to affect you. So that's the one blessing and curse of our business is like, if you put in the work, you're going to get it back out, but you're always going to work. If I go on vacation, my phone doesn't turn off. I still have to answer it. I still have to run those leads. I still have to set expectations with those homeowners, but that's just what I've accepted. And the longer that you sit there and fight that, which I see a lot of people do, they're like, oh man, this is so stressful. The anxiety from being in roofing sales. I always have to be by my phone. I always have to pick it up. Well, that's what you signed up for. And you signed up for a very good living if you're that busy, So accept it as a blessing and don't look at it as, oh, I'm stressed out. You live a very good life if you're that busy. So therefore, it's much better to be busy and working your butt off than to not work and not be busy, And that's the thing. If you're not busy and you're struggling, that's the most pain that you'll ever feel in your life, But if you put in that work and you get that ultimate success, that's the best feeling you'll have in your life. So just go out and work each every day, That's the easiest part of what we do is like, if you put in the effort, you'll get the result.
Do you know Alex Hormozy?
Yeah. Yep. I don't follow him. I'm not a guy that follows him deeply, but I see his stuff on Instagram all the time.
This is quite delusional stuff that most of these influencers, they promote the idea of this freedom from business, that you don't have to work 4 hours work week. You just need to have a meeting once a month and you can run $1 billion business. That's a fake idea. And they are promoting the same stuff. However, I was listening to a podcast, or maybe it was an Instagram reel by Alex Hormozy, and he said that now I am on my way to be a billionaire and I am working even more than I was when I was starting out. And at the same time, they are being delusional. They are telling people that you can have a $1 billion businesses or $1 million business just by working 1 hour a month or 1 hour a week, or just by taking a few meetings.
Not true.
That doesn't fit anywhere. And even last year, I was in this delusion or illusion as well. And I tried to make these systems automate everything. Then I realized that even if you do all of that, how will you spend your time the rest of your day if you are not working? So ultimately, everyone is working. Even Russell Branson, you have heard his name, Virginia Airlines. He works 7 days a week as well, and people think that he is living life filled with freedom. That's not true. So most of our younger generation is being delusional by this idea, and they are not ready to work. How do you feel can we encourage them through this platform and take them out of this illusion?
I'm brutally honest with myself. I know what I'm great at. I know what I'm not great at. I know what I can work on to get better. And I think the more brutally honest you are with yourself on what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, that's unlocking things for yourself in the future, because the biggest issue is that you're right. People are delusional in the fact that, I had a guy the other day, he's made a very good living in roofing sales and he decided to go and do something else. And he says, I see myself selling Boeing jets for a living. And it's like, well, you were making you were pulling $8,000 to $10,000 checks here, but you decided to go on and do something else, which is perfectly fine. But it's like, it's better to put in that consistent work that gets you what you want, and then constantly improving and streamlining your ability to be more efficient at that. So you have more time to go out and do more things. So that's the thing for me is with roofing sales, I can go out and sell roofs each and every day, and I do it in a very efficient manner. But being able to do that doesn't mean that I get to have the rest of the day off. That means that I get to go work on my passion, which is social media content and putting that stuff out and going and doing the drone videos. And that's what it means to me. So it's just because, you're working hard and streamlining the process and you got to a certain level of success doesn't mean that you get to take the rest of the day off. You have to be able to put that time in and be good at what you do. But if you want to do things outside of your normal what I call a 9 to 5 job, which I would say roofing sales is my 9 to 5 job, you have to be able to sit there and do that efficiently and then still go out there and get more for yourself. And so for me, it's on to the next thing. It's never taking time off. I never want to go on vacation. I always want to stay and doing what I'm doing now. I take the vacation for the wife, for the kid to have those moments, but it's like I'm ready to get back each and every time.
Yes, I was just going to ask that. How does your kid handle that you don't want to take a vacation, but you already answered that?
Yeah, it's funny because like we all are a little bit delusional, when we first start with things. But it's like with the social media stuff, I was, I feel like when I first started, I thought I was ahead of where I was at. I feel like on year 2 or 3, I felt like I should have had it branded, but I was so far away from where I needed to be at, and I didn't recognize it until I was at that level, that how bad I was at that point in time. So that's the funny thing is we all have our own little space that we're at in our head, but it's like, the more that you can pull yourself out of that and look at it objectively and saying, hey, and that's what I love about the Facebook groups, being able to put your content in Facebook groups. You get to see people's honest opinions, and sure, you have the trolls and the haters, but I want all the criticism. I want all the feedback, right? Because that's going to give me a loop of what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, how people feel about my content, whether they love it or whether they hate it. And so like, I'll sit there and I'll put a digital pitch that I plan on running sponsored ads around, and I'll put that in a sales group, and I'll say, hey, tear this apart. What do you like about it? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? Let me know what you think. And they'll tell you exactly what they think. They'll say, hey, this is too long. You should shorten it up. You're speaking too fast. And some people, they'll hear that feedback and it'll break them down. They're beyond themselves about it. They hate me. They don't like me. I have all these things I need to work on, but you can't just take it as objective criticism and go back to the drawing board and say, okay, I think he was right about this and that, or I think these people were right about this and that. Let me change it up and get a better product out.
You know what? If you handle criticism with humor, you can even turn those critics of yours into clients or into customers later on. And I've seen that in Facebook groups. People troll you. They just like,
Yeah,
they just want to
I don't care.
smash
Like
your head. I don't even want to use those words there. But if you handle that with humor, they just kind of diffuse all of that criticism diffuses eventually. Have you noticed that?
yeah, and I know what's true and what's not. Like you can tell when people are being genuine about their criticism in you, and you can take that as constructive feedback and go back
Yes.
to the drawing board and make your product 10 times better. And I think that's what all the great guys do. I'm sure if you went to Apple, I'm sure that they'll sit there and say, they'll have a meeting on what they love about their product and what they don't love about the product. But I think the companies that go out there and ask the consumer, rather than ask their inner circle, their people that work at the company. If they ask the consumer, you're going to get a completely different opinion than the people that are board. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to sit there and have those conversations and to be open to that criticism because it's going to make you better at the end of it.
And you are in sales as well, and I'm in sales too. I know you'll relate to this, that I have realized this the hard way, that when you are attached to the outcome or the sale, you will never make it, because back in your mind, in your unconscious, you are too desperate about that sale. And when you disassociate yourself from the outcomes and you attach yourself to the process, you just want to master the process and you just want to give your best, you make it every single time. And an example of this is that uh, whenever someone says me that they are getting a cheaper deal, I just ask them one simple question, that if the other person or if my competitor is giving you the same kind of service, uh, do they have the same quality, and do you trust them? And if all these things have a yes in the answer, I just say them, okay, go with my competitor, you are good to go with them. And then when I come back or when I leave that meeting, I start to make my product or my service better, because I have to improve myself. If the competitor is offering the same thing in the cheaper price, it means that something lags in my product as well, and I have to improve that. Now, coming back to roofing, how I want to relate this to roofing is that many times these contractors who have been working for like 10 years, 5 years, they are genuine, they are men of values, they have put in the hard work into their businesses, but they lose contracts when they are against those equity companies, because they have that bigger budget of marketing, they have those guys on social media, and how no matter how hard these sincere people try, they just lose their projects. Homeowners choose those equity companies over these guys who are there to provide actual value. So the question here is how can that person who is genuine and who actually wants to provide value to the homeowners and who will stay there, like your brother stayed there on the first project, who will add value to the homeowner's life, but he can't just win the project because he doesn't have this charming business or the hype on social media. How can they
I think
handle
no
this?
matter what business is,
Yes.
I think no matter what business you're in, you can't get caught up in the nuanced conversations that are out there. You know, I
Mhm.
think far too often people are falling into the same conversations that other people are having, whether it's in the home or on social media. You have to uh, make it a you have to make a statement on your own that sits there and compels people to do business with you. No matter if you're in digital sales or if you're in the home, you have to be able to make a case on why you're you. You're not you're not your competitor. You're not even trying to
Mhm.
be your competitor. You want your presentation to be so good and so different from everyone else that's walking in behind you that they only want to go with you. And I've had so many people, you know, where I've been the first sit going into the house and they called me back after the fifth guy has left and said, "Hey, listen, your price was $2,000-3,000 more than your competitors, but because of the experience that you provide in the house, going through the materials, showing, and that's where I think social media is underrated in roofing sales. Is like I go through all my videos inside of the home. You know, I'll show the custom metal being broken so I can show people, hey, listen, this is how we're going to outline your major penetrations. You're going to be able to pick out your own colors. I'm going to be able to help guide you with the color that you decide to pick out or which colors fit best with that. And here's projects that we've done that, you know, are right in the same color scheme that you're looking at. And so I think if you're so far away from the nuanced discussion in your business, that's ultimately what sells you to people. And I see it all the time on social media is everyone's trying to be Alex Ramosi, you know, but it's like, what else are you providing value outside of that, right? When I'm making content for people, I look at it as I'm making content for the home enthusiasts, the people that are interested in you know, just exteriors and HGTV and that homeowner's experience. I'm making content that targets them but I'm also making targets, in that content target fellow roofers, and then also people that are in my local market that want to buy from me. So I spread out my content, and it's a little bit different than what you see, and it's probably not even as high a value or a production value as what you'll see from other people. But it's genuine and honest, and you can tell that I know what I'm talking about, and I think that's the one thing that you can't fake is if you actually know what you're talking about, you know? And I think the more that you can show that to people and not be upfront about it, you don't have to say, I know everything, but just the sales process that you're putting out there, whether it's online or if you're sitting in front of someone, you want to be the expert. And you don't become the expert by sitting there and telling someone. You have to show them and explain that you're the expert because that's what solidifies it.
You are right. And what I have got from you is that you are saying that if two people are competing here, two businesses are competing here, you don't have to be the third one here. You just have to place yourself here. That's what positioning. And you have to say, I am better. I'm not them. I'm different. Right?
I'm
Yes.
They're all down here. I'm
Yes.
doing so many things different that I don't even have to try. And that person, when I'm leaving the home, is like, wow, that was completely different than every other presentation. Even if I bought up here, I'm still doing so many things different up here than everyone else is doing that it makes an impression. Only thing that can persuade them to do business with someone else besides me is price. And that's where you want to be at. That's the only thing. You don't want them sitting there saying, oh, I think this guy's a better company, or, only thing that can persuade them because I set myself up in a certain light and I explain the roofing process from start to finish and I'm doing things the way I do it. The only thing that can persuade them to do business with someone else is price. And you got to ask yourself that question, whether you're a creator or whether you're a roofing salesman, is what am I doing to make myself different in front of the homeowner than everyone else? Or what is everyone else doing that I cannot do and make myself better and different? I think that's where we're all at, no matter if you're a digital creator or if you're inside the home each and every day doing roofing sales. You have to be able to sit there and differentiate yourself to your competitors. And for me, it's pouring into the experience. No matter if it's before the sale or after the sale, I'm making myself different from my competitors.
Right, actually. And I feel that people don't really care about the price when they see that they are getting immense value from this person. Price is logical thing. If you make them feel that they are having an amazing experience from you, that's an emotional thing, and emotions always take over logics. That's what I believe. Now let's just pace things a bit and talk about the genie in the house, artificial intelligence. What do you feel about AI and how do you see it transforming things, particularly in sales in the roofing industry in next 10 or 20 years? Because I feel in the next 2 or 3 years, thing will be same, but in the 10 years or the 2 decades, things will change massively. What are your thoughts on this?
Um, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting because I have mixed feelings on AI. I love it. I love, the stuff that you can get with AI photo generation or even videos, how you can sit there and just plug in your your video and then it completely does all the editing for you. Like that's super appealing to everyone. The one thing that I think AI is going to win at the end of the day. I don't think there's any other way around it. In some form, it's going to be life changing forever. But even AI influencers are coming out now, so indistinguishable from real people in real life. And they even have a website that you can go on and you can have these AI influencers that are auto generated that will promote your product. And it's like, that's crazy. But at the end of the day, that AI person can't go to a roofing expo and meet with 60 other contractors, and take photos and you know what I mean? There's a certain genuineness that comes with a real person interacting that I don't know if roofing sales, you know, pandemic was interesting. So going back to it, the pandemic was interesting because selling roofs through the pandemic was really unique because you couldn't really go out to people's houses. If you did, you had to sit on the back patio, right, and do business with them that way. You had to wear a mask. You had, to do virtual appointments, and there was a certain level of it turned into more of a transactional experience, and it took a while to get back to. Um, it, it turned into more of a transactional experience than having that feeling of doing business with someone. You know, you have people leaving their checks in the mailbox rather than giving them a hug at the end of the job and walking around the project and then picking up payment at the end. And I think that genuine experience is the only way that we're going to win and beat AI to an extent. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to have an AI person online be able to go out and have that genuine experience with a homeowner, you know? So I think that you could get people to, AI bots or whatever to go on video phone calls in the near future and have a conversation with someone and sell a roof. Like that might happen, but as far as providing a complete and total experience, that's always going to be left up to the contractor and the roofing company as a whole, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, either way, I think that there's still, I would say for the next 5 years, we're safe as far as going into the house each and every day and doing business that way. But who knows where this is going to go because the cat's out of the bag, and it's not going back in. So it's nerve wracking for me because I'm in so many different facets that it can affect my life. But for me, it's staying on top of that and educate myself on how to, the people that are going to be successful are the people that are going to be able to tell Chat GPT what they want out, in the future. And that's the thing. I think that's going to be a whole job. You're going to see people hiring people. You're going to see companies hiring people that say, hey, listen, I want you to
We are
tell
expert in
Chat
ChatGPT.
GPT
Yeah.
exactly what I want. And I think that's going to be a whole position that people are going to get sucked into, whether it's AI video editors or people in the office to generate documents. I think that's going to be something that automated, streamlined business. I think that's going to be more of what we see in the near future, which is within the next year to 3 years. We're going to see more people implementing people that come in and streamline the business or produce documents or whatever. You can do anything with AI. It's literally an artificial God. That's what it's turning into. And that's where it'll continue to go. I don't know if you've seen that thing, where they had this super complex equation that said it would take a half a year for a normal computer to
Yes.
do, right? Or a year or whatever the case is, an infinite amount of time to do this one complex equation. And AI solved it within 15 minutes. That's what we're dealing with here. And that's extremely scary, but it's not going to go away. I mean, it's out there. Whether people are going to be, even if they put restrictions on it, people are still going to be using it in private. You're always going to find someone that has access to that.
The way I see this is that in next 10 years, we won't be having smartphones. We'll have glasses, glass pads or something like that, transparent, and we'll be having these wearables, VR gears or something like that. And people will have those gears on their eyes, or I don't know if Elon Musk develops a chip that or a lens put that into your eyes. And then you will be sitting at your home, and as people are in this virtual reality, they will have an AI avatar of Andrew who will be selling roofs in that virtual reality. And through haptics, they will create that same emotion, same touch response and feel. And you will be just at your home. Your avatar will be doing the selling. And that's what I feel will transform the roof selling or selling overall in all the industries, not just selling. It's gonna revolutionize all the world because people
And you're
will
right
have
on
those
that
VR.
because my brother, he owns an exterior company local here in Memphis, and
Yeah.
they have VR goggles that they can
Uh,
put on their homeowners, and they can actually see rendering of what their house is going to look like on the
yes.
outside
Yes.
after the project is complete. So that's definitely where it's going. But, that adds to the customer experience, and that's what I'm excited
Yes,
about, is that to be able to have that technology at your hand. And once again, that's one more thing that can set you apart from your competition. There are people out there that are just going in still and handing people quotes. And if you're going out there and you're putting on VR goggles and people are seeing their full exterior, that adds to the experience of being in the moment with that contractor and coming up with their dream home. So I think that's a perfect application of having AI in the day-to-day operation and in the field with your homeowners. Yeah, and I think at some point in time, it's going to be so great that people can do that virtually without being in the same room together. And I'll definitely take advantage of that. Might have to lock myself in the room so my kid can't get in, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be applicable for us in the future. But once again, I think that still adds to the experience, and it's going to come back to can you deliver? Can you deliver after that? Can you deliver the final product that matches what they're seeing in that headset?
I agree with you. And I feel that we can't run away from AI, but if you are a founder who can envision how to incorporate AI into your business, you can be the first mover and you can capture more market than your competitors far before all of these things like this AI and tech starts taking over the market. You will be the first mover and you will have that advantage. That's what I feel. Only thing required is the vision, how to use that AI into your business.
Mhm.
So you are a father of a really handsome boy, Andrew, and I saw it on
Thank you.
Instagram. Yeah, I am not a parent yet, but when I look at the world, I feel it's heading in a strange direction. And as a parent, how do you ensure that your kids grow up with the same or even better values than you had in this world?
You got to be tough on people, and even little people, you got to be tough on them. And, you have to set expectations high. You have to be tough, and you have to be able to sit there and ensure that they're living out the life that you want them to live. And so with my little guy at home, he's 6 years old now, and all the innocence is starting to fade away, of that, between, for me, it's 1 to 3 is the golden years of being with a baby. They have, they're out there dancing, having fun. You have the silly things that they say, and they're not worried about another soul in the world. They're just having a good time. And then it's like, when 5 to 6 hits, you have that transition to where all of a sudden they can debate with you and they can have conversations with you. The world, it's gotten so easy for us, but the way I see it going forward is there's a lot of doomsday scenarios ahead for us. And there's nothing that we can do about it in our day-to-day lives other than putting ourselves in a better position financially and mentally and physically, spiritually, however you want to deal with it, to deal with those problems as they come. But I think it's important to make sure that you're walking the walk when it comes to your kids, making sure that you're being the best example for them. And that's one thing that I love about social is that my son can see who I am, from start to finish. If something, Lord forbid it, something ever happened to me, right? My son could go on and see what kind of person I was, what I enjoyed doing, and what I brought to the world. And that's one thing that I think people don't realize about social is that you're documenting your life experience.
Yes.
And yeah, and so it's so funny because he looks at the videos that I do and he loves them to the point to where, he'll say, Daddy, pull up this video. Or like I'll do a video of him and, like he got his haircut the other day and I did a video for the barber because he fit me in on Christmas Eve. And I just appreciated that. And so I did a video of that, and he loves that video that I did of him. And so now it's getting to the point where he wants to do, toy unboxings for YouTube, and we're no technology family for the kids. So like he doesn't, have an iPad or anything like that. And I just told her, I said it would be super awesome to get him into something like that because that's right down my wheelhouse. Like I could shoot the videos of him doing the unboxing of the product and then I could cut it up, edit it, do it all myself. And I said, that would be fun for me. I said, at some point, we're going to have to let them explore that a little bit, But as far as
Yeah.
day to day, as far as day to day, we have high expectations for him. His mother's a teacher. Actually, his teacher this year, she's a kindergarten teacher. No, yeah, she teaches at a local Germantown school here in Memphis, and so he goes to school with her every day, and he's actually in her class this year as a kindergartner. So that's been super cool because he can kind of push him, because he can kind of already do everything that a kindergartner can do. So now she's pushing him to the next level, pushing him further in reading and math. And it's funny because I don't necessarily deem myself a smart guy. And I'll be sitting there reading him a book at night and I'll mess up on a word and he'll correct me on it, So that's the thing. I think you be tough on them. You set the standards high, and that's all that you can do in the world that we live.
Okay. And the good thing is that you are making him a content creator instead of a content consumer. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
and that's the thing.
yeah.
I mean, social has its benefits, but it's to a certain age, Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on like whether him not having an iPad hinders him in the ability to, because he's going to use that at some point in his life, and it's going to be something that he uses each and every day because of school or whatever the case is in the future. And, I don't know if that hinders him not being on an iPad, but I can tell you he can sit at a dinner table with us and have a normal conversation and play with his toys. And there's no issues whatsoever. You bring that iPad out and you decide to take it away when dinner comes and you see those kids throw tantrums in restaurants.
Yes, I have seen those videos.
I'm not in on
social
that.
media.
That's not
Crazy.
something
Yes.
I'm about.
Speaking of success, Andrew, what does success look like to you personally?
I posted something on Threads the other day. It's serving life on your own terms, and I can actually read you the thread. Let me see here. I'll pull it up real quick because I thought it was pretty good. So this is what it means to me: serving life on your own terms. It means you want to live the life you want to live. You do business with the people that value your worth and inspire you to succeed, and you surround yourself with the people that you want to be around. And in that, you're pouring time into those passions with unwavering commitment. That's the thing. I think that you have to outline the life that you want to live. You want to do business with only the people that value you for who you are. I think that's true whether you're in the home or whether you're with someone else, in a business setting, that you want people to choose you and value you. You want them to choose you and value you for who you are. And that's one thing I think is very important because at the end of the day, you want that person choosing you and the things that you provide to people. And then, you also want to surround yourself with the people that you want to be around. I've had other opportunities come up to where I could go and do other things. And I've, instead of going and consulting and doing things like that, I've chosen to stay with my family business and pour into that and find something to where I get a little bit of both of what I want, with the brand deals that I have. And so for me, it's like I get to serve time with my father each and every day. I get to go to work with him, see him, and do business with him. That's extremely important to me. I almost lost my father in 2020. That was one of the hardest things that I had to go through. And it showed me how important, those moments are. Just being able to walk in and see your father each and every day at work is a blessing. And so, I think you have to identify those things and what brings value to your life and then pouring into those, giving it everything that you got, whether it's being a parent, whether it's at work, whether it's pursuing your dreams and passions, whether it's selling a roof, pouring into those things and giving it everything that you have. So that way, when we're, 50 to 70 years old down the road and it's our time to go, we can say we did everything that we possibly could and that there's no regrets.
You know what? Oftentimes we just don't value things that we are seeing day to day, like our parents and our kids and all these blessings that we have. and we say that we are doing this, we are doing that. However, that sentence should be structured like, we get to do this, we get to eat food, we get to do that, we get to go to work, because that's what's been given to us by the what's been given to us, what I
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a blessing to go out and sell roofs every day. When I hear someone quit in roofing sales or say, I gave up on it, I decided to go back to a 9 to 5 job, it breaks my heart because I know the opportunity that's here that if you just stick with it. That's another thing. Going back to winters, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. You know, every business is up and down. No matter how great you are at what you do, no matter how long you've been doing it, you're gonna have that roller coaster that you have to ride. And it's important to stick through it and not get off. So many people get off before they see the benefit of what they're doing. And that's the one thing that I've been glad to be a part of the family business where it's kind of expected that you're there every day. There's no quitting and going and working at McDonald's. It's a part of what we do. It's our identity. And so for me, it's like, because of that commitment has already been expected, right? I have given it 10 years of my life and I get to see the benefits of committing my entire life to this one profession. And it's a great deal. I think it's great for anyone that wants to do it. And I think the more that you pour into it, the more that you get out of it. But I see so many people quit too soon, and that breaks my heart. And that's one thing I think a lot of pride in. I've been doing roofing sales for 10 years. A lot of roofing companies don't stay in business for 3 years.
You are right. Persistence is the key actually. And I got my first sale after almost 14 months. And the only reason was that you said that all these people were competing here. And I was saying, no, I am not one of them. I am here. And I will prove that. And I proved that. It took me 14 months. And I didn't give up. There were times I was completely lost. I thought I made a bad decision. But you are right that when you have people around to support you, like you have in your family, you have to just show up for people you care
Mm-hmm.
about. Yes. So my
And I
last
think,
question, yeah,
the more that you're into it, the more that you do it, right? The more sales calls that you have, the more people you go out and meet each and every day, the more you'll find your own path and your own ability to go out and sell your way. But I think it's important to keep in mind, what am I doing different than my competition? And what experience am I providing overall? And I think on the social side of things, for you especially, is like not only talking about the process, but actually showing what you're doing for your clients, like being able to sit there and go through and go through a client that you're working with currently and saying, this is what I'm doing for him. That's going to change the game. And the more that you show that off, people are going to say, oh, well, I need to call Fox. I need to get with them and set up a phone call, and because I want him to do that for me.
you are right. Yes, that builds credibility.
Content creation, if we can touch on that for a second,
Yes,
you got to understand that you can't be one dimensional with content creation. You have to be able to do multiple different things that kind of show every aspect of what you do. So for me,
okay,
it's like I'll sit there and I'll present on video, but also I have my drone videos that provide a little bit of you know, a coolness factor, an entertainment factor, right? And then, I'll show final production photos. You want to keep people guessing what's coming next. You don't want them to sit there and kind of expect the same thing over and over again, because at some point in time, they're going to say, okay, well, I've heard that story 100 times, I'm going to go find someone else to listen to. You're competing with everyone anyways on these social media platforms. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to put out content each and every day. And each and every day, I'm going to bring something different. It might be in the same theme or the same realm, but it's going to be different each and every time.
I agree with you. And I was watching Gary Vee the other day. He mentioned that the number one thing that you can have from someone right now isn't money, isn't business, isn't anything, it's attention. You just have to get their attention with your content.
In a
They'll know.
relationship. Relationship.
Yes.
That's
Well,
another thing people don't talk about enough is like actually communicating with people that you follow. Every person that comments on my videos, I comment back. Every single person that
yes, I've
messages
seen
me,
that. Yes.
that's Gary Vee too. I mean, I've been following Gary Vee since 2013. But the best thing that he taught me is you don't want to sit there and explain to people why they should do business with you. You want to build a community that supports you. That's your job on social.
Perfect.
It's not to sit there and explain why people should do business. It's to build a community that values you for who you are. In that way, if you do that, then you'll always have people that support you, which builds up your base engagement, right? Which base engagement is what gets you to more people, right? So if I have X amount of people support me each and every day, commenting, liking, DMing me, they even factor DMs in, sharing my stuff, right? That builds up your base engagement. From there, you get to more people. You go through different levels and you'll get to more people as you go up in the algorithm, depending on how engaging the video is and the watch time, right? So building a community is extremely important to your success on social. And so that's where my focus always lies. The community is more important than anything else. I'm not trying to get in front of more people. I don't care if I go viral. I'm providing daily content that adds value to the people consuming it, my community. And I'm thinking about what do they want from me? Because if I service that, you know, I'll have my videos that get to, 50,000 people or 60,000 people, whatever it is.
Okay. You have actually built your community on social medias. That poses a question that, let's just say if a roofer is starting out on social media, he doesn't know anything. What are the top three things he should do, or the top three content ideas you would give to him in order to just rock on social media?
Yeah. So for me, it's, post-production pictures are great, as far as being able to sit there and show homeowner. There's two different ways that you can go about it. You can go about building a community, which is a little bit tougher to do starting out because you don't have anything that solidifies you as an expert in your industry. So you have to build the foundation of your profile, right? So post-production videos, post-production photos, showing your sales process, what you're doing on the job site on a day-to-day basis, being able to explain your knowledge of the process of what's being done on the job site. So like if I have a house and it has two dead valleys on the front hand side of the home, I could just sit there and say, hey, this is a beautiful house here. We're doing it today for Miss Jones. And at the end of the day, if you're in need of a new roof, give me a call. I could do it that way, right? Or I could sit there and say, hey, listen, we got this beautiful house today. It has two front dead valleys on the front, left and right side of the home, and we're going to do TPO in the valley. What is TPO? It's a membrane that's same thing that's on the FedEx forum. It's a commercial grade roofing that's going to be installed in those valleys. And here's what that process looks like, right? That's adding value to the customer. That's adding value to the home enthusiast. That's adding value to other roofers, right? Other roofers are going to sit there and look at it and say, wow, this guy is doing something different. I could probably follow him because he's going to break down other things that I can use and talk to people, whether it's out at the job site with them when I'm signing them up for a new roof or if I'm creating content myself, right? So I'm adding value to the roofer. The home enthusiast is just saying, hey, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were even things called dead valleys on a house. Let me go ahead and follow this guy because at the end of the day, he's going to bring up concerns that I might not be aware of on my home, and because I watch HGTV and I love that stuff, you know, um, I'm going to go ahead and give him a follow. And then the customer is going to sit there and say, just like they say inside of the home, this guy is talking about roofing completely different than every other roofer that I've spoken to. Instead of just wanting to get my roof replaced through the insurance process, or or talking about getting my roof, you know, uh, replaced in a retail setting, he's talking about the process of the roofing being replaced. So that's targeting that company, and let me follow him just in case if I ever need a roof in the future, you know. So it's been funny because I've been able to see the different avatars that kind of have popped up with people that follow me and kind of understand, what they're about. Like I had this lady in Missouri one time. She said, I'll pay you any amount of money. I want you to come out to Missouri and build my roof. And I went to my dad and I said, hey, this lady in Missouri, she said that she'll pay us whatever we want to come out. Can I give her a price? And he's like, we're not licensed in Missouri. Like we can't go build a roof. Well, it's just a one-off thing, Dad. And he's like, no, we can't do it. But it was flattering that you had someone consider your work so good that they'll pay you to travel from Memphis to Missouri to do their roof. But yeah, it's a cool experience, and that's the thing. You're not just servicing one follower, right? You're not just servicing the people that you're trying to get to do business with. There's other people in your industry that can help you build your community if you're willing to bring them in and teach them something, you know? And then there's people outside of your community or outside of your business, right? That might, if you find a way to provide that value, they'll follow you. I always think it's funny that Logan Paul and KSI took down Gatorade overnight, right? With no experience in the the drink business, right? Soda business, whatever you want to call it. They took down Gatorade overnight. And how did they do that? They were great marketers. They understand attention. They understand how to captivate people's attention. And I think that's important to recognize. And they have a community. They understand how to build that community of people that want to be a part of what they're doing. And that's what we all have to do, whether you're selling drinks or whether you're out selling roofs each and every day, is building a community that supports you and what you do and that are there for you.
And what if someone says they don't have time for social media? What should be the lowest frequency you would suggest that you should at least post once a week or once a day or whatever the number is?
Yeah, once a day for sure. Like there's no question about it. But all right, you don't have time for social media, then you have time to go out of business. you know, and then that's it right there. I mean, I called it right. I started back in 2017 doing social media, and I had people call me delusional. I had people call me crazy. What are you wasting your time for? You're not going to get any leads off of social, this and that. And I said, I'm building for the future. I'm not building for 2017. I'm building for 2025, and I nailed it on the head. Everything that I wanted out of social, I get today. I got my brand deals that I'm very proud of and that I love working with in companies. I get to serve customers each and every day. I have a network of people locally that have my name, real estate agents that put me out there, when they need a new roof, on a home that they're about to sell, and I still have to go out and do the grunt work, but it's not something that I have to do every single day. It's only during the slow times that I have to really put in that extra effort, during the summers, I'm just out doing what I do each and every day.
Okay. So my last question to you, Andrew, is that let's just assume everything crashes tomorrow and we have a new Andrew who has to start from scratch. Everything is crashed and you are a solopreneur. What would be the step-by-step approach you would take to succeed then?
Be outside of nuance. Just like I said, producing content. If social media crashes tomorrow, depending on what we're talking about here, if it's roofing sales, you go out and hit them doors. You put advertisements in the mail. You go to the networking opportunities that are there for you locally, right? So the BNIs, the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce, the fundraisers, the real estate meetups where you have drinks with people and just have a good time. Once again, being social is the best thing that you can do for your business. But also hitting the doors, whether it's knocking doors or putting out flyers, mailing, that's where I would start if I was starting roofing sales tomorrow. Everything crashed tomorrow. On the social side of things, it's producing content that's different that grabs people's attention, and being able to produce it yourself is also another blessing that I have. Because I know a lot of people have to go out and pay someone to do videos of them or pay someone to do drone videos. I can do all that myself, and I learn how to edit it over time myself to where it's compelling. But if I'm starting on social tomorrow, it's being able to create content at scale and having the ability to do that in my own hands with CapCut and a drone and a camera, a phone camera. And the more ability you're able to document and create compelling content in that form, and look at it from different angles and outside of the nuance of what people hear each and every day, um, I think that's where you have a chance to break through. Other than that, social is hard to get traction on. I mean, it's just no matter what outlet you're in, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it is completely different than what it used to be. But the people that break through are outside of the nuance, right? They're outside of doing something different. Sam Tullock, I don't know if you know him. He's a YouTuber. He's a bodybuilder, big guy.
Okay.
And he started doing these video blogs that are 2 to 3 hours long. And the editing is super simple. It's not complex at all, but he's just a good hearted person. And you can tell that he's genuine. And he just has these normal conversations, and people will sit there and watch him for 2 to 3 hours. And how he broke through was he was outside of the nuance. There was nothing fancy about what he was doing. He was doing something completely different than everyone else. And that's where we all have to be, I think that's the one message of anyone can get out of this is be different than everyone else. In a good way.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast, and it was a really wonderful conversation with you. Thank you so much.